As the popularity and availability of classic and retro bikes is on the up, today we're going to be taking a look at a selection of the best new bikes that fit the bill and will be available this year, starting with the all-new 500 Explorer from Fantic. As the latest addition to its Scrambler range, the long-established Italian bike maker has revealed its upcoming new 500 two-wheeler that has a strong and aggressive design and features all the distinctive touches you would expect from a retro-inspired scrambler, including a few tasty touches like high-mounted twin-hour exhaust tips, a teardrop-shaped fuel tank, as well as a flat bench seat that's complemented by a pair of pillion grab rails. So although the bike gets the prefix 500 to its name, power actually comes from a 449cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled engine that delivers a more than adequate maximum output of 40 horsepower at 7,500 RPM. It has a peak torque of 43 Nm at 6,000 RPM and should be good for a little under 100 miles an hour by way of a 6-speed gearbox. To help the bike keep its grip in all conditions, a pair of Michelin Anarchy Wild tyres perfectly complement 19-inch front and 17-inch rear-spoked aluminium rims. Front suspension's handled by a pair of adjustable 43mm upside-down forks, while duties at the rear come by way of a mono that's again fully adjustable for both compression and rebound. Both front and rear suspension get a more than adequate 200mm of travel. In terms of safety equipment, the new Explorer is equipped with disc brakes on both the front and the rear, along with a Continental dual-channel ABS system for better handling on the roads. The bike has a 12-litre fuel tank, weighs 155 kilograms and has a seat height of 860mm. So our next retro-themed bike comes from, in my opinion, one of the most highly underrated brands around today, and has been at the heart of Italian motorcycle styling for over 100 years. The new 2022 Imperial 400's definitely sticking to its roots, with a reinterpretation of a historical model from Bennelli's range produced in the 1950s. Now this new machine from Bennelli is an easygoing, intuitive and extremely captivating two-wheeler thanks to its elegant looks and its definite retro soul. So at the heart of the new Imperial is a new 374cc single-cylinder 4-stroke air-cooled unit that pumps out around 21 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and has a max torque rating of 29 Nm at 4,500 RPM. Now yes, I know that's a bit of a drop from our last bike, but if you think that's a problem, then you may be missing the whole point of this bike, as it's about the looks and feel when it comes to a motorcycle like this, and not its ability to pull your arms out of the sockets. The 400 gets a very simple but effective suspension setup, with a 41mm telescopic fork to the front with 121mm of travel, while its rear swing arm gets a double shock and 55mm of travel. Now there's not too much more we can say about this bike because, as you can see, they've tried to keep things purposefully simple. From its typically retro front headlight to its teardrop tank, you're definitely going to be getting the essence of what a true retro motorcycle's all about. So to be quite honest with you, I was torn between this next bike and its bigger sibling. So I've chosen to tell you a bit about both of them, as they're both in their own way a great example of a very affordable retro looking bike. So to start with, the 250 Felsberg has a bit of a flat track, cafe racer vibe going on about it. Now yes, some of you may recognise the Felsberg as having a few trips around the block already. But let me tell you, for 2022 it's had a significant facelift that gives it some prominent and great looking flat track elements, such as a new seat and tail cover and some protective caps on the side. It also gets a couple of great new colour schemes for 2022, being backstage black and cargo green. So like all today's bikes, of course it's Euro 5 compliant, has a max power output of 17 horsepower at 7,500 RPM via a 5-speed transmission, and weighs in at around 155 kilograms, has an 18-inch front and 17-inch rear wheel setup, LED lighting all round and of course an ABS braking system. Leaving the 250 aside for a moment, its little brother the Felsberg 125 takes a less aggressive approach to its styling And without going into too much detail about what's new for the 2022 XC model, let's just say with a great new chrome teardrop shaped tank, higher front mudguard, new belly pan that makes it look like it's set to take on a more adventurous ride, Brixton have definitely made this bike look more like a retro scrambler. Now the power rating does stay pretty much the same as the 2022 model at just over 11 horsepower, making this a very good choice for an A1 licence holder. Sometimes it's just as much about what you leave out when you're designing a bike that makes it what it is. Let's face it, most retro bikes from the 50s and 60s had no fuss and were very simple. But when I say the bike you're looking at now has taken this to the next level by leaving out an entire engine, well, like me, some may be thinking they've taken it too far. But one thing's for sure, if we can expect beautiful bobber cafe racer inspired bikes like this when the inevitable electric takeover happens, well, to be honest with you, you can count me in. So what can we say about this bike apart from it looks very cool? Well, to start with, each bike's hand-built in Coventry and uses next generation electric powertrains developed in collaboration with Bosch. It's lightweight, manoeuvrable and is powered by a removable battery that can be charged at any plug socket. So one of the things that stands out on this bike is a silver braided pipe running across the left hand side that routes the cables from its dual battery controllers and mimics an exhaust header pipe from a single cylinder engine, making this bike look about as close to a combustion powered bike as you're ever gonna get, which to be honest with you we think's a really nice touch. Now it's not the fastest thing on two wheels as it maxes out at around 45 miles an hour, but if your only objective's to get from A to B in retro style, then this, the Maving M1, should suit you right down to the ground. I think most of us would agree that if you want a classic looking bike, then a BSA is a great starting point and has to be one of the most iconic British machines when it comes to two wheels. Anyway, putting that aside for a moment, let's find out what this new Gold Star has to offer and take a look at some of the things that really stand out about this bike. So to start with, sat on top of its engine we find a very apt traditional 12 litre teardrop shaped fuel tank that just screams nostalgia and takes its inspiration from the BSA's original Gold Star models. The tank gets a bold, unmistakable trademark BSA logo on either side that fits in perfectly with pinstriping and an offset chrome fuel filler cap. So one of the things that we really like about this bike is BSA's opted for a large capacity single, when even the likes of the long-term rival Royal Enfields moved to a 650cc parallel twin engine. The new A2 compliant machine, powered by a 652cc single-cylinder DOHC engine that produces a claimed 45 horsepower at 600 rpm and 55 newton meters or 40.5 foot-pounds of torque at 4000 rpm. So BSA plans to have this new Goldie in stores by spring of this year. And what's more, it looks like the standard model will be available in 4 different colour options. The first of which being that very stunning insignia red paint scheme, and with its white pinstripes and bold colour, it's definitely an eye-catcher. Other colours include Dawn Silver that really capture that classic look, and my personal favourite being Midnight Black. And just to finish all these bikes off in a very traditional look, of course they all get spoked chrome wheels. Royal Enfield's due to soon release yet another stunner to keep its siblings company, in the shape of the new Shotgun SG 650 bobber, and the bike's definitely sure to stir up some trouble while keeping some very classy Enfield styling. The new unit features low-set wide handlebars and a very apt single-piece floating bobber-style seat, and a pair of centre-set foot pegs that appear to be similar to the ones off the classic 350. So taking a closer look at the Shotgun, its clear aspects of the bike are intentionally futuristic, including a 3D paint scheme, not to mention some very impressive machining around the bike's front end and headlight cowl that all scream quality and will definitely make this bike stand out from the crowd. In the power department, the engine can produce a peak power of 47 horsepower at 7,250 rpm and around 52 newton meters or 38.3 foot-pounds of torque at 5,250 rpm, making this bike easily a ton-up machine. Suspension's taken care of by a welcome pair of USD front forks that should definitely add extra stability to the bike, while a pair of twin shocks mounted to a looped frame that, along with a low-profile rear tyre, keep a low-slung look and feel to the back end of the bike that's definitely in keeping with its retro bobber design. So at this point I've got a bit of a question for you. Do you think electric bikes like the one we looked at today will ever be as good as a petrol-powered bike? And more to the point, would you consider buying one when the inevitable electric takeover happens? Anyway, drop us your thoughts on it in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed today's review, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Sub if you want. Until next time, stay upright guys, I'm out of here.